Welcome back once again. In this part, we will insert our data to our Firebase database. So first we need to create our Firebase database reference. So database reference, we can call it mDatabase. And now we need to add our Firebase auth. So it's going to be mauth. Now we need to create our Firebase database. So before that, first add mDatabase is equal to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference dot child, and child is going to be, we can call it shopping list, and at the end we need to add our UID. So first we need to generate our UID. So mauth Firebase auth dot get instance. Now Firebase user muser is equal to mauth dot get current user. Now string UID is equal to muser dot get UID. So our UID will store inside our string variable, that is our UID. So now child is going to be this UID. So all done. So inside our mDatabase we will have our user ID, and then we will store our data. Now inside our save button set on click listener, we need to create an object of our model class. So data is going to be, so before that we need to generate our random ID. So string ID is equal to mDatabase dot push dot get key, and string mdate is going to be date format. So what was that? So string mdate we need to select our date format. So remove this one and add it again. So string date is equal to date format dot get date instance dot format and new date format. And now we need to set our data. So before that we need to change it to our integer for our amount. So integer amount is equal to integer dot percent is going to be amount. So data is equal to new data, and first one we can call it type amount, not date and ID. So type amount, not amount, that is going to be our this integer amount that we converted to integer, this amount, and not, and our date, and last one is our ID. Now mDatabase dot child is going to be this ID, and dot set value is going to be this data. So we set our data. Now we are ready to insert our data to our Firebase database. Now we can run our apps. Before that, I think we can add a toast message. So add a toast message, toast dot make text get application context data at, and toast dot length short dot show. and now hit this run button. So make sure that you added all these line of code. So now go to this Firebase database and we need to create a real-time database. So now just enable it. We will change these rules later. And now we need to change our rules. So go to these rules and instance of false we need to add auth not equal to nulls. That means if user did not register inside our application, then they will not be able to read any of this data. And for write we need to add same rules, so auth not equal to null and publish it. Okay, now we are ready to upload our data inside our Firebase database. Still it's running, so I think it's complete now. So now open up our application. So where is our application? Now click this floating button and here we can see our custom alarm dialog and we can add our data. So type is going to be, we can simply just for example we can call it food. Maybe we bought some food. And add amount. We can choose 700 and for note we can simply call just add some note why we spent this 700. We can call it I bought we can simply call it I bought food. And now click to the save button and we can see our toast message, that is data add. And now open this Firebase database. Now we can see our database name is shopping list. And inside the shopping list first we can see a user ID, that is our user registered ID. And inside this user ID we can see a random key, and inside this random key we can see our all this data. So our amount, our date, that is our current date, our ID, our note and our type. So we successfully inserted our data to our Firebase database. So first we added our database name. Inside our database we added our user ID. This way each user will have different account and each user can see only their own data. Okay, so now we can see, so this ID, that is our user register ID. And if we go to our database, so now we can see our same ID. So this ID is our this user ID and this ID is our random key. So inside this user ID we added a random key. So if we add one more data or one more shopping item, we will see one more random item. So now open this application once again and add few more data. We can add type, we can call it and we can call it type is fish. Maybe we bought some fish. And amount you can choose 500 and not I bought some fish or something like that. Can I buy some, just add some random text. I buy fish and save. So now we can see our data is add, and now we can see one random key inside our user ID. So if we expand this ID, then we can see our second data item. So we successfully inserted our data, we successfully created a user ID, and inside this user ID we created a random ID, and inside our random ID we successfully added our all this data that we want to store inside our application. And each user will have different account and they can't see each other data. So we successfully added all this functionality, all this required field. So I think that's it for this part.